Hi, welcome to Infusion Health, the podcast. I'm comedian Cris Patrick, a.k.a. Self-Proclaimed Power Man, and I'm here with my co-host and significant other, Rach.
Hey, guys.
Now, today we got we got an interesting story. I can't wait to dive into this. As you know, sports, and I love sports. I'm a big sports guy. Go Wild, but we know the Wild lost the other day, and but my Bruins are playing tonight, so I'm still in it. So let's go Bruins. But we're talking about, we got this guy. His name is Troy Aiken. He's calling from Los Angeles, California. And he makes he's trying to do away with leather in sports. Now we know that football was called the old pigskin because I guess they used pigskin, and I don't know what they put it in, but it was kind of like a leathery thing, and that's what it was called. And that's the beginning of football. And then Spalding, I think, used some kind of wrap or something like that for the baseballs, and also used something for the basketballs. But he's a vegan, and he's trying to get away with using leather and stuff like that in sporting equipment, and he makes vegan sporting equipment. So it's going to be really interesting. So Troy, with no further ado, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Chris and Rachel. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, no problem. So you take so you're a vegan, right? Take the vegan lifestyle or live the vegan lifestyle?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. About 3 years ago, I went vegan and never looked back.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I think it was last year we went to the Pride Festival. Me and Rach went, and we had our daughter with, and she ran into the vegans. She was talking to the vegans, so she decided to go vegan. Now, here was the problem with that. She decided to go vegan like the next day. So 2 days later, she's like really sluggish and I work part-time at a pizza place, so I brought her a vegetarian pizza, and I brought it home, a small one. I said, listen, I bought you this small pizza, and she sat down and she ate it. And I said, listen, I understand you want to do this, but it's a slow progression. You can't just go at the turn of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I started 3 days a week, then 5 days a week, and then 6 months later, I committed to 100% lifestyle. Yeah,
because when your body is used to having certain foods, and all of a sudden you just cut them out, your body's like, we need to. So, like you said, it had to be a slow progression, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I totally did this uneducated and kind of on whim, and I luckily did that right because and it's such like a fiber intensive diet being vegan. And so like when you just like override your body with fiber, it also doesn't like that. Plus like, if you don't do it right, you're missing out on a lot of nutrients. So yes, it definitely, I recommend like a gradual process.
Yeah.
What turned you on to wanting to become vegan?
Yeah, it was super random. And, Facebook has such a good algorithm that they just know everything about your life that they put in front of me, like, on a suggested article, why a plant-based diet is better for you. And so I just took the time to read it and, learn that it was great for inflammation, recovery, sleep, all these kind of different things. And being a fellow athlete like you, Chris, I was like, oh, this is great. It could, I'm not trying to go pro anymore. I played college tennis. So I was a college athlete. And so I was like, I don't want to be sore and tired anymore. I'd like to sleep better, help my work day out. And so I was like, sure, let me give it a try. So I, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I ate 100% plant-based, and I, started to feel better. Monday through Friday, I went plant-based, started to feel better. And then finally after, a extravagant trip of eating a bunch of cheeseburgers and, a lot of alcohol. So I'm not 100% blaming the meat and cheese, but I just felt so horrible. It's like, I'd cutting this out for forever. And I've been plant-based for 3 years now, and it's been amazing. And so that's like why I went vegan to start, was for health reasons. And I felt great. But then, you kind of start learning about the environmental aspect, the animal agriculture, and all these different types of things. And it was like, this seems like a positive thing that I'm doing, for myself, but also for like the future of, I don't have any kids yet, but like, for my kids, for your kids, like these types of things. Like, I want to leave the world in a better place than what I found it.
Absolutely.
Now, when we get into veganism, I always like to do this with people. Okay, you have some people who don't eat beef, pork, but they'll eat chicken and fish, and you have some people who are vegetarians who don't eat beef, pork, chicken, but they will eat fish, and then you got some who won't eat beef, pork, chicken, or fish. Now, with a vegan, they don't eat beef, pork, chicken, fish. They don't eat eggs. They don't drink milk, anything that comes from an animal. Am I right?
Correct. Yes. Any animal product is a no-no.
All right. Yeah. Any animal. Yep. And now living the vegan lifestyle, there's a lot of things that that you'd be surprised that are vegan. Like I was watching a show. I think it was on Netflix, where a lady took like 4 people and had them go vegan. Now I know some vegans will wear leather, will not wear leather. Some don't wear leather or anything or wool or anything that comes from an animal. Are you that way?
Yeah, and that's like because I started, back when I was growing up, I would, double meat at Chipotle, double cheese. I get it. I didn't do it for like taste or whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, once I went vegan and started learning about kind of the animal cruelty, and so I tried my best to stop using leather and all these different types of things. But that kind of ties into eco sports of how I realized, because I play all different sports. So like tennis balls use sheepskin, basketball uses leather, football uses leather, like all these different sports use leather. And I was trying to use less leather. I wasn't like, I'm not going to play because of it, but I was like, I would love not to use leather if it's an option. And I felt like, there's, 5% of America is vegan, 10% vegetarian. And like, I feel like the number is only growing. It's like, there could be a little niche market here for like a kind of eco-friendly vegan sporting good line, so that these people don't have to keep using animal products in their life if they don't want to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So with like animal, like baseball gloves, I know that when people had baseball gloves back in the day, they were made 100% pure leather. They softened up, and you had to keep oiling your gloves. What do you use? What instead of leather? What do you use to make like baseball gloves and basketballs and stuff like that?
Yeah, so there's 2 like main materials that we kind of use, but we really stick with one of them because it's much more eco-friendly and like biodegradable. Mm-hmm. So there's like a PU synthetic leather, which is very common amongst like even like a Wilson or a Nike. They'll have a leather basketball and a PU basketball, but that material is super toxic for the earth. It's toxic for the workers, and just kind of in its raw form, like it's toxic for kids. I think like kind of once it's done, it's not so bad for kids.
Sure.
But we use a material called TPU, like thermoplastic polyurethane. Okay. And that is chemical free, toxic free, and it biodegrades in 3 to 5 years. Okay. So we're super happy with the material, and like it performs like if you were to go to a open gym and just pick up this basketball, like you have no idea that it's like a special basketball. Like it just feels like a basketball.
Mm-hmm. So the weight of it, the feel of it, everything's the same. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and exactly. And we have been able to use that material across different sports, such as like we do make the baseball gloves out of it, the basketballs, the footballs. They all, just kind of how it's made is just slightly different to fit each sport, but it's still the same material.
Well, have you gotten your NBA certification, or have you gotten anything from from Major League Baseball saying that it's okay to use this type of equipment?
I have not. That's actually a really good question / point, is I haven't even thought about that. I mean, we have all different sizes from adults to kids. We have noticed a good amount of kids we think parents are buying for their kids, just because, it's millennials that are starting to be more eco-conscious, for their Gen Z kids that are eco-conscious. So we don't need any NBA certification for that, but I think that's a great point. I know for our soccer balls, there's like FIFA certifications that we're looking into right now, just to kind of help on a marketing tool, but we don't need any of that right now, but that is a great point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you use a certain material. Now is this material plant? You said it's polyurethane, or?
Yeah, so it's still kind of a rubbery, plasticky material, but it's just like a way more advanced version that is kind of a newer material. And so therefore it will biodegrade. It's eco-friendly for the planet and for the to make and everything. So it's just a much cleaner material than leather, and the typical PU or PVC is also super toxic plastic.
Okay, so this is my question for you. In essential oils and CBD and that kind of stuff, you have to store it in a certain way. Do you have to store your equipment in a certain way so it doesn't biodegrade before the timeline of, you know what I'm saying?
I absolutely do. Yeah, and I get that question a lot because like if you just leave it, in your lawn, like your kid playing with it outdoors, and they don't put it away, and it just leaves to their lawn, maybe eventually it will decompose, but no, it does have to be like thrown away and be properly decomposed for it to biodegrade in 3 to 5 years. So it won't just disappear into your lawn in 3 years.
Okay.
So it is recyclable.
Yes, it is also recyclable.
Okay.
So you don't have to run it in when the kid's done playing with it either.
Sorry, what was that question?
You don't have to run it in from the outside elements when the kid is done playing with it?
Correct, yes. And it's also much more like resistant, water resistant, weather resistant than leather would be as well, because leathers aren't super outdoor friendly.
Sure.
Okay. Well, one of the things is I don't have a motorcycle yet, but I got like 4 leather jackets. But I know too that they do make a vegan leather jacket. I've seen them online. They're pretty spendy. I think they're around $250. Well, I'm not going to say pretty spendy. They're almost as much as a regular leather jacket, but they do make a vegan leather jacket.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just bought my girlfriend a vegan leather jacket. I like my car. It's an older car, and I still have leather seats in my car that, once I get a new car, I will definitely not get leather seats. Mm-hmm. But like, sometimes you just have these old things. And to me, it's better to kind of have them than to just, you're going to throw them away. And then like, I also think that leather jackets that have been tanned and, toxified, they're not going to like compost super easy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's better to just, get the maximum use out of it now that you have it, but looking forward, see if you can make a more eco-friendly choice moving forward is how I like to look at it.
Yeah, because Rachel's always on me. You bought another leather jacket? I love my leather jackets.
He really does.
Yeah. I mean, they're comfy. I get that.
Yeah. Plus, when you're riding, they're very good for when you hit the if you hit the pavement. That's why a lot of them wear leather to protect yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So talking more about your company precisely, tell our listeners what sports you are catering to right now.
Yeah, so we have basketballs, soccer balls, volleyballs. Footballs will be here in a month, and baseball gloves will be here in about 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
So
what about golf?
So golf gloves are something that we are sampling a bunch of products on. The problem is that we have only found the PU leather that I've been able to find for a golf glove there. Like I'm working on trying to get a TPU golf glove, but I haven't found one that I think, because that's our biggest thing is like, great, we can make an eco-friendly product, but I still need it to perform at a high level and compete with, a Spalding or a Wilson or Nike type of thing.
Absolutely.
And we're not selling it at a $100 ball. We're kind of anywhere from, depending on the ball, $20 to $50. So we're in a pretty affordable price point, but we still need it to function and last a year or two. And so that's been my latest issue with the golf gloves. And that's why my footballs and baseball gloves were a tad behind, was just because we were in development for longer periods, just trying to compete. Because you make it sound like you know a lot about baseball, but like baseball players, a glove is like their baby. And so if we're going to put out a product that we need to compete with a leather glove that, folds so well and it's just like so comfortable in my hand. I played baseball for 12 years, so I get it. And like these gloves are, maybe we start in a kids market, but we finally found a glove that I feel comfortable anybody could use.
So how does it form to, like, because I know when you buy a new baseball glove, it's kind of like you got to let it form to your hand and stuff like that. You got to keep wearing. How does it work? How does your baseball glove form to the hand and all that over time?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've noticed because I go play catch like once a week just to test it out and get the long term use of the glove, opposed to just I can catch a ball. Like okay, let's see how it performs. See. And that it starts to form, but like a typical leather baseball glove will certainly get, how it gets like when it gets old, it gets flappy and it closes kind of on its own. Like you have to open it, where the TPU is a little, because it's still kind of that rubbery material. So it's got a little more structure to it, which I don't mind, because it almost seems like it holds its newness a little longer, but it takes a little longer for it to break in. Like it's now finally, 4 months later, it's starting to like have that great worn in feeling, and I can just put it on and close it with just ease and not have to stretch to close it. But yeah, I mean, you're not putting it in the oven. You're not putting oil on it. You're not running it over with a tire, all those old tricks to break in a glove. But yeah, so I've been happy with the baseball glove, and kind of I'm sad that it was one of my later projects, because to me, I think it takes up the most leather out of any of the sports.
So when you're catching something like a real fast ball, does it feel like you're catching something like in a regular glove? It's not going to hurt your hand or anything like that?
Yeah, well, assuming you catch it in the pocket, you shouldn't have any trouble there. But if you do catch it in the palm, there's still padding in there that's a non-vegan material that makes it feel and look like a typical baseball glove. So yeah, it performs very similar to a regular baseball glove.
And do you gotta oil it and stuff like that, like you do the other gloves?
No.
Yeah, no, not so much. It will kind of naturally start to break in.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's good to buy it around Christmas time, so that when preseason starts, you have your good glove.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping to kind of release it in the fall, and then late summer, fall, and get a little bit of buzz going before Christmas time. And like we launched around Christmas time, and sales were booming. It was such a good time to launch that I was really happy with. But because that was the first time we launched, once we got into kind of the April, May time, which is a slow time for sports, especially like basketballs and soccer balls, which are my best sellers. Like I was like, sales are just a little slow right now. I mean, I'm still above my expected, revenue, and I'm really happy with where we're at. But it was just Christmas time is such a good time of year.
Yeah.
So now you've talked about sports that you want to address, golf and a couple others. What are some other strong ones that you're looking at right now?
Well, being a tennis player, and it does use sheepskin, I would love to get a tennis ball going. Again, the problem, I've sampled 100 tennis balls, and they'd be fine for an average tennis player, but I think of myself as a high-level tennis player. Yeah. And it's just like, it gets so fluffy, it doesn't last as long, the bounce is just not it's not 100%. So, maybe if you're a beginner tennis player, it wouldn't bother you that much, but it's certainly for me, as someone that also goes through a new can of balls every single time I hit, which I hate as well. So I'd also love to find like a reusable tennis ball, which I'm sure, the Wilsons and Babolat, whoever has like thought about a reusable tennis ball, and there's a reason they don't have one. But like the US Open alone goes through 300,000 tennis balls in 2 weeks. Wow. And those all go into landfills and, never decompose. And it's just like 2 weeks of tennis and 300,000 tennis balls. Like there has to be a better solution for that. Yeah. And I know that like maybe the ball won't be perfect, but kind of Impossible Meat and Beyond Meat have really inspired me of like, as long as it looks like a burger, tastes like a burger, and cooks like a burger, for a lot of people, it is a burger. And so that was kind of my thought. Like if it looks like a basketball, feels like a basketball, and plays like a basketball, it is a basketball. Even if it's slightly different, maybe that becomes kind of the new norm because it's so much better for the planet.
Yeah, and saving the planet and using things like that, helps with the less destruction of the planet and putting that stuff in the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. And all these resources that we're using, like, all the cows and like cats and dogs and everything that we need for leather is so much environmental impact, and like all the amounts of water that these cows consume. Like everybody's in a drought, and like water is going to be a tough one in the future. And like, a single cow uses 50 gallons of water every single day. Like, that would feed you and I for a whole month, pretty much.
And these aren't cows that we're talking about that are, grazing on the grass, and being able to walk long stretch. These aren't, if you watch some of these videos, you might change how you eat in the future because it's just horrific.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a few cows that do have a good life, that plenty of room to roam, and they live to be 15 years old, and then their life finally ends. But 95%, even like these places that call themselves family farms, Like 95% of them are still factory farms that are all shoved tightly together, that live in their manure, that only live to be about 3 to 5 years old. And, cows can live to be, can live up to 18 years. And so, so it's just kind of a tough situation. And there are there's more ways of just not eating meat to, eliminate these types of things.
Yeah, well, I remember we were watching a video or something like that, or a show with my kids, and I said, I told them, yeah, you shouldn't eat veal. I said, I'm a meat eater, but I won't eat veal, because what they do with veal is they take a baby cow and they put it in a harness and they hang it up and they just have it sit there to keep the meat real tender and all that, and that's how they make their veal. And I was like, no, that's just utter cruelty,
Yeah, it's just torture. A lot of over the foie gras, just stuffing fat down these ducks and stuff. It's just what a. Yeah, I don't want to switch with that. Yeah.
Sorry, Cris. There are some religions that believes that you will be reincarnated. So, I mean, what you're doing to them, not just in our world, but you could be possibly, according to that religion,
Hindu
messing
religion.
up. Yeah. Messing up your future as whatever you come back as.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have my own kind of crazy beliefs as well, but you kind of believe we're all connected. All this energy on the planet is connected, and just to try to do your best to reduce as much harm. You were talking about all the different types of vegetarian and vegan and those types of things. I kind of define veganism as just doing your best to reduce as much harm as you can. And so for whether it's not eating meat or using less leather, to me, that's doing the most I can to reduce harm to all these energy forms.
And that's the thing too. Some of the videos I've seen, they've actually said that when you feed your family, every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so on, they said it's actually good for the planet, for everybody, if you fed them a plant-based dinner once a week. Just one day a week have something other than meat, like salads or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many studies coming out now that's saying a whole foods. I mean, you can eat bad and be unhealthy on a vegan diet. Don't get me wrong. But a whole foods plant-based diet is coming out as a super healthy way of eating, and and getting all these different greens. The amount of vegetables that I've consumed since going vegan has 100-folded. I hated spinach, I hated broccoli growing up, and now I've kind of been forced to eat it. I've also gone to these amazing places that make broccoli taste like chicken. It's oh my god, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
So, and getting all these greens and different, what's the microbiomes and all these different things for your gut. It's just they say your gut. I mean, you guys probably know better than me. The gut's your second brain.
Yeah. Well, when we started out, it was in our first 10 podcasts, we did one with our daughter who's a pescatarian. She eats fish. She doesn't eat beef, pork, or chicken, but she will eat fish. And one of the things on her, when she said she wanted to go vegetarian, I do most of the cooking in the house, so I was like, okay, fine. But it helped me to look at different ways to making different foods for her and stuff like that. And some of the stuff I've made, she's loved them. She's loved it. I've done some
croquets.
I've done some croquets with tuna and
vegetable based pastas. Those have changed dramatically how they used to be created and fall apart, whereas they're a little bit more sustainable now, and you can actually get it to the plate and be able to have your lasagna, your spaghetti look like your spaghetti, your pasta. Yeah,
and I've made pasta dishes. We'll make our kids love Italian food, so we make them I'll make pasta and then mix it with some olive oil with a little basil and cilantro. Mix that up for her and stuff like that. Put a few shrimps in it.
Yeah, you guys are making me hungry now.
But yeah, looking at a green based diet, and these are things I went to the doctor the other day and everything was fine, but they said your cholesterol. So they said, well, we can put you on these drugs and all that, and I'm like, I don't want to be on more drugs. So I'm like, I I realize that it's a lifestyle change that I'm going to have to look at some plants and look at some different juices and stuff like that to help lower my cholesterol. One of the things I found was a pomegranate, which I love pomegranate. So it's like, cool, pomegranate grape juice and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
So where do you want to go as far as your sporting equipment? Are you looking at trying to get like
licensed through national companies? Are
endorsements from players or from players and companies are in the NHL and NBL and NBA?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of different ways that I would love to go. Retail is probably next on our list. Start getting into, well, Dick's is the dream, obviously. Dick's Sporting Good and Target and Walmart and Big Five and those types of things, like which we have some contacts. So we just wanted to make sure that there's a demand for it, that our product is good. And so now that we have some baseline behind us, we're ready to start getting into retail.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to keep the D2C going, because that's where the margins are great. But it's just when you sell 10,000 balls to Dick's, it's a nice little payday there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also a couple like high level vegan athletes that we'd love to get in front of, like a Chris Paul's vegan, Alex Morgan, Diana Taurasi, like Kyrie Irving. All these guys are all plant-based. So like there's some superstars out there that would be really cool to endorse. But even now with this like NIL stuff, with the college athletes being able to get paid, that's certainly a revenue or a way we're looking into, and working with, some younger athletes, and because they're also kind of more aligned with being eco-friendly and, caring about the planet. So,
okay. One of the things you mentioned was the college athletes. Now, the college athletes were, I think they passed the bill last year because it was a thing that they were in sports, and the schools and all that were making a ton of money off them, and they weren't allowed to get paid. So they just passed a bill saying they can get paid. Now, with them getting paid, is there so much they can make, or is there a limit on how much they can make? Or
I don't know if there's a limit on the make. Like the Alabama quarterback, I think, made $1 million plus already. Mm-hmm. But how you make money is the limitation. So they can only make money on their likeness. So kind of doing Instagram posts or, showing up after like a meet and greet type of thing. But I don't think they can actually like make money on playing the game or those types of things.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but they can get paid for they can get paid for their endorsements, because some of that stuff I heard, like the school made so much money off them, and they went into a store and they saw their own jersey and they couldn't afford their own jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. I mean, you look at the Reggie Bush type of thing, who he got his Heisman stripped for taking $50,000 or for like whatever silly thing it was, and now these quarterbacks are making Heisman candidates are making millions of dollars, and it's like, yeah, well, the USC made so much money off Reggie Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think Reggie Bush should get his Heisman back?
I do now. Obviously, it was against the rules. He was punished for 10 plus years, or what was it, 20, almost 20 years now, probably at this point. I feel old now. But yeah, he's been punished long enough. Now the rules are different, that I think he should get it back. Maybe in a couple of years they give it back to him, but I do think that he should get it back at some point.
Well, the whole thing is that when you know better, you do better. And that's just like what you're trying to create right now. When we know that our sports equipment could be potential harm to Mother Nature, then we do better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, if people want to get a hold of you, they can definitely go to ecosports.com.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to contact you or get in touch with you, can they get in touch with you through the website?
Yeah, there's a contact form on there, or it's just Troy@ecosports.com if they want to email me, or they could check out ecosports_Save Earth on Instagram.
And you can text me that information, and I'll put it in the title or in the description.
And when you come out with that golf glove, let me know, because I definitely need one.
I will. Yes, I know. I have a sample that I really like. It's just I want to make it more eco-friendly opposed to just simply vegan.
Heck, a golf bag. He needs a new one.
Yeah, I need a new golf bag.
Yeah, you want me to throw in a driver and a putter in there too?
If only if it can help with my slice.
Yeah.
Well, Troy, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, this has been interesting because it's talking about one of my favorite things, sports, and sports and leather. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's so fun.
Yeah, it was great having you on. Thanks a lot. And like I said, if you guys want to get in touch with Troy or look into some eco sports, especially now with baseball season coming up, with Little League coming up, and then of course we'll have basketball season coming up soon and all that. And you want to look at some more friendlier sports and some more eco sports. You got shoes yet?
We don't have shoes. I have I would call him my tester, but he's my brother who's in an adult basketball league, and he's testing out our eco-friendly shoes right now. And he says he likes them and wears them all the time. So
Awesome.
Shoes are in production or in development.
So
Awesome.
definitely check out eco sports and check out this. This stuff is good and it's great for the environment. Troy, thanks a lot for having us on, for coming on the show. And Rach, I'll let Rach close us out.
All right. So on here, we are trying to build lines of love where history has more lines of hate, and trying to make you guys your best advocate, even when you're playing sports. Have a great one.
Take it easy.